so I got you something else.
Next time, you're doing it.
I know. I'm doing.
Okay, all right. That's cool. Hello, how are you? Nice to see you. Yeah.
Oh, you guys gotta go to the front row. Come
Like,
on.
we are gonna have to
Right up there. There's less heat. There's less heat up there.
Let everybody know that
Recording in progress.
All right, welcome everyone. Again, I apologize for getting started a little late. It's now about 6:37. I'd like to call to order the Fenton Township Board meeting on this 4th day of October 2022. I would please ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the opening prayer. And we have a guest tonight that will be doing that opening prayer, Genesee County Sheriff Christopher Swanson. Come on up, yes, please.
Thank you. It's a welcome surprise. Father, we just thank you so much for the opportunity to serve, to live in a great community. Thank you for the leadership of this board. We thank you that this summer, no fatalities on the water, no fatalities on the roads. You protected us. Lord, I pray for wisdom and discernment on this board, that those that would bring issues, they would be resolved with compassion, with efficiency, and that we would continue to do the service that we're called to do, to stick up for those that have no power, to give a voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. We thank you for this time. We thank you for your provision. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Sheriff. I really appreciate that. All right, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Lorraine.
Present.
Krug is absent. Tucker.
Present.
Gopel is absent. Cotter.
Present.
Kessler is absent. Reed.
Here.
4 members present.
We have a quorum. All right, I'd like to note for the record that Township Attorney Jack Belzer, Operations Manager Tom Broker, and Fire Chief Ryan Bolts are also present. Additionally, the following Township officials are also present via Zoom. Our Fenton Township Assessor, Julia Wilson, and our Township Engineers, Alan and Melissa Lawrence. Tom, will you detail the procedures for those attending tonight's virtual meeting?
Yes, to the members of the public attending tonight's meeting in person or via Zoom, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded to be shown on public access television, Spectrum Channel 191. Recorded meetings are also posted on the Fenton Area Community Television YouTube channel. For those attending via Zoom, we ask that you keep your microphone muted until we reach portions of the meeting where public comment is allowed. For tonight's meeting, there are 6 separate special assessment public hearings: Stony Brook Drainage Improvements, Stony Brook West Winds Drainage Maintenance, Kurtwood Drainage Improvements, Crane Lake, Dollar Lake, and Lake Christie. Public comment will be accepted during each of these hearings separately. All other public comment will be taken near the end of the meeting. Meeting materials are available for download on the Township's website at www.fentontownship.org.
Thanks, Tom. All right, moving on to the first business in order is the approval of the agenda. Are there any requests to amend tonight's agenda? Hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Kotrick.
Yes.
Krug, Kessler, and Gopel are all absent. Tucker.
Yes.
Motion carries. Agenda is approved.
All right. We have a presentation this evening by our Genesee County Sheriff, Christopher Swanson, for the third quarter report to the Township. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Your request, the request of the board, 4 times a year we come and give an overview of what's happening in the township business. I also want to bring to attention, every time there's a meeting, Detective Sergeant Scott Pritchard, who is the detective assigned to this area, also attends to make sure we have excellent communication back and forth. My short presentation at the end will also conclude with the ability to ask questions to whoever may ask. But I want to first start by saying thank you for the trust in approving our contract for yet another opportunity to serve. Your words in the Tri-County Times, Mr. Supervisor, were very kind, because it's really the work of the deputies, not myself, that make this type of approval so easy. We only went up less than 5%, which when you look at the works being done by just a small cachet of deputies, it's nothing less than phenomenal. Deputies Billenau, Boyd, Gatika, Meek. We also use it as a training ground for field training officers, Pett and Gill. Certainly Deputy Rhea, who's actually working right now, 6B to 6A. Deputy Riggs, who is a retired commander from the Pontiac Fire Department that came here and went to the police academy. He was already a licensed medic, but he's now in patrol. And then, of course, the township only pays 60% of Scott Pritchard's salary. Although all your work gets done by the shared services, the other 40% is paid for by Atlas Township. So we get a lot done with a small group of people. And when I say a lot, I just pulled the September stats for your background purposes. those deputies I just mentioned answered 218 911 calls in the township in 1 month, with an average response time of 5 to 8 minutes. Many times our response times are less than 3 minutes, depending on where they are. You'll see that we're only here at the township, what we call our precinct, to do paperwork at shift change, because we want to be seen in the community. Many times just the presence of law enforcement can certainly thwart any kind of crime. And that being said, the township cars drove 6,603 miles just in 1 month covering the township. There's a reason why we don't have a report downtown all the way from Fenton. We have a report here because we want them ready to go if that need is here. There's an addition that we have that we were able to start back because of COVID. We brought everybody downtown. That is our paramedic division. You know, I started the sheriff's office in 1993, and I had already been a medic for a year. I'm still a licensed paramedic. And in the sheriff's office, our paramedics are police officers and paramedics. They drive the Tahoes. They're equipped with all the Trauma 1 medical, the ALS equipment in order for us to respond to with a scenes with the fire department. And we have them strategically placed in the north and the south. And it just so happens that we have a contract in the far north in Vienna Township on 75 and a contract in the far south on 23 here. So you'll see that we have a licensed paramedic that responds here to start and end their shift, which reduces response times to medicals in all of our communities. We not only dispatch with our private ALS friends and our fire department, but when the township officers are not tied up on police calls, they respond to medicals. They are equipped with automatic external defibrillators, Narcan. Obviously, we're all trained to first aid, CPR. And just this last month, our patrol deputies responded to 17 medicals within the townships. Trouble breathings, chest pain, seizures, it doesn't matter. If a county medic is dispatched to a Fenton Township medical, they're going. We also stopped 54 vehicles, all sorts of traffic violations, from speeding to running red lights. We have a high percentage of warnings. Most of the time, behavior is corrected on the traffic stop. You don't need to give an individual all the time a punitive punishment of a ticket. However, we write about a third of all the people we pull over. It's the officer's discretion. I know that when I've been pulled over in the past, behavior modified. You don't need to tell me twice. So we use those as education purposes on the side of the road. But I also want to tell you that we have some special things that happened over this last week, and it's a great community to live in. I know this firsthand, but we are not without fail. And so I'm going to tell you a couple active cases that we're working right now, but there's some things that we could all learn as homeowners that we have to do to keep ourselves being victimized. And the first one involves 3 suspects that are outstanding. These are 3 individuals that the Tri-County Times is going to break the story tomorrow, as well as my weekly briefing at 1 o'clock and all the media. And I'll show, for the purposes of this board, these pictures. These are the 3 outstanding suspects that last Wednesday, their first stop was in the 1600 block of Aspen Hollow, over off Owen Road. And many times these cars will be driven by a driver, and 2 or 3 people will break out in the subdivision, and all they do is go from car to car to car to car to see which ones are open. And that's exactly what they did. And at the 1600 block, they opened up a vehicle that was unlocked, and taken was a Smith & Wesson Model 2944 Magnum, one that you would see on the movie Dirty Harry. That was unloaded. Second gun was taken was a Ruger Model Security 6 357 revolver. That was unloaded in the unlocked car. But the third one was a Ruger 9mm that was loaded. And all 3 of these vehicles are in our community because they not only took those guns, but credit cards. They were used at gas stations around Flint. They didn't stop there. They came back over the weekend, and they went to an address on the 1600 block of Quail Ridge Court. And at that place where they actually stole a vehicle out of the garage that was open, and the keys were in the vehicle. They stole the vehicle. We actually recovered the vehicle up in Genesee Township in a community that's called Pineview Estates off Genesee Road, just south of Stanley. Our friends from other local law enforcement pinpointed the vehicle. They gave chase, and chasing these days is really, really, really dangerous. And I know that it's a stolen car, but we don't advocate for chases for property and when people's lives are at risk. So they terminated the chase. The vehicle was actually found shortly thereafter, abandoned, but we got the vehicle back. We worked with the homeowners, And we actually have printed the vehicle, and there's one piece of evidence that everybody leaves, even you sitting in your seat, that we've had the technology, and that is DNA. So we're pretty confident we have DNA from things inside the vehicle, and we're going to find those suspects. One thing we do have, and this is what I will bring to your attention, is we have a suspect vehicle. And it is a late model white Chevy Cruze. It looked like some damage to the front hood. These individuals don't just come to Fenton Township. They go all over the county, Livingston County, Saginaw, Shiawassee. These are, in our experience, most of the times addicts that are buying and stealing every single day to feed their addiction. And we are going to find the 3 people. When we do the story tomorrow, we're going to ask for the public's assistance to identify. We've got 3 good surveillance photos that were taken from the illegal use of the credit card. Shortly thereafter, on Saturday, I got a call. I saw that there was some activity on the 1200 block of Margaret Drive. And that's where Aaron Braham was. Aaron is from Davison. And he had just came from Livingston County, did some car larcenies there. But he did something even more egregious. There was a foursome that was golfing at Fenton Farms, 9:38 in the morning. And as they went to tee off, Aaron walked up with a black hoodie and a life jacket on and said, "I'm going to take your cart," and stole the golf cart. Drove it right off the golf course drive, down the road and into the 1200 block of Margaret Drive, abandoned the golf cart and started knocking on doors and got into a sunroom of a house and occupants that were not there, but he was found there by our deputies in that short response time. He was arrested. He was charged with unlawful driving away of a vehicle, albeit a golf cart. He's a habitual offender, so he got hit with a 4th degree, and then he also got hit by the prosecutor, David Layton, for home invasion. I say all that because, as I said, this is a great neighborhood, but the key is when things happen, you respond quickly and you do not give up. And that's why having a detective like Detective Sergeant Pritchard is so important, that we follow through with the cases. If somebody sees that neighborhoods are easy picking, that word travels fast in the criminal world. And we're not going to stop there. That's why we're able to recover the car. We're going to process the car. We will identify all 3 of these suspects. It may not be tonight, but rest assured, we're going to identify them, and you'll see it reported when we get them in the Tri-County Times. And that is my report. Mr. Supervisor, any questions you may have?
Thank you, Sheriff. Does anybody in the audience have a question for the Sheriff? Anybody on the board? Sheriff, I cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Just to let you know, I asked Chris if he would take his time as a busy sheriff, as you can understand, to come and report to our township. He didn't even hesitate. He said, "Absolutely, when you want me there." And I said, "Every quarter." He's been here every time. He doesn't even delegate it. He's here. And Chris, I can't tell you how much it means to the residents, because the residents will be watching. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Great job.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it. We're going to get a few chairs out there for you. Sorry about that. We're a little full.
I had no idea it was the quorum.
It's all right.
Because I had a 4 o'clock, that's usually not a problem, but,
Yeah, I had Tom send everybody out.
yeah, I'm sure he did, but I was not in the office until 4 o'clock. She just kept talking, so.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's not all right, if I would've known, I would've said, sorry, you gotta go.
Very polite.
Thanks, Sheriff. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to the next business in order is the meeting minutes. Included in the packet are the meeting minutes from the September 20th regular meeting. Are there any corrections or requested revisions to those meeting minutes? All right, hearing none, the meeting minutes stand approved as presented. Moving on to the next business in order, which is expenditures. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of the invoices? Nothing from the treasurer. Wow. All right, that means that's a clean slate. All right, a motion is in order to approve the expenditures totaling $761,234.21 for payment.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Krug is absent. Patrick?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Reed?
Yes.
Gopel is absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Motion carries. Expenditures are approved.
All right, next business order, as Tom said, we have public hearings. I think we have 5 or 6, Tom? 6 tonight. We're gonna try to get through them as quickly as possible. The first one coming up is Stony Brook Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District, hearing on special assessment roll. This is a public hearing on the special assessment roll for the Stony Brook Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District to pay for the needed repairs and improvements to the stormwater drainage system in the Stony Brook development. The special assessment roll has been amended to reflect the actual costs, which is based on the low bid. The total projected cost increased from $209,470 to $221,615. It's about a 5.8% increase. The per parcel assessment increased from $2,053.63 to $2,171.71. If the roll is confirmed as amended, the amount assessed will be spread over a 10-year period with interest calculated at 4%. The board will now accept public comment on the following only: an individual's assessment in relation to the benefit received, the total cost of the project, and the validity of the proceedings to date. All right, I will now open it up for public comment, and this is only for the Stony Brook Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District. Is there anyone in attendance tonight that would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Would you mind coming up to the podium there, kind of adjusting the mic? And all we really need is your name.
I'm Jane Canizero. I just have 2 quick questions. A timeline for the repairs. Is that available?
We'd have to check with the engineer to see what, or with the contractor, but I know the plan is to get it done this fall. I can know
Okay,
that.
and we also had some partnership with Mitchell Builders with our South Pond outlet drain, and I'm wondering if that has been coordinated with Mitchell Builders as to, finish it up at the same time.
I believe they will coordinate. The contractor that's doing the work for this project will work with their contractor to make sure everything gets done and it works together, yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Is there anybody else in attendance tonight that would like to address the board? Hearing none, we'll go to Zoom. Is there anyone attending via Zoom tonight that would like to address the board on only the Stony Brook Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District? All right. Hearing none, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, resolution number 2022-42. Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2022-42 confirms amended special assessment roll number 2022-04 as the assessment roll for the Stony Brook Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District. Divides the assessment into 10 annual installments, with the first installment due December 1st, 2022, and sets the interest rate at 4%. Allows for payment in full at any time and assesses a 1% per month penalty on late installments. Directs the clerk to deliver the special assessment roll with warrant attached to the treasurer. Directs the treasurer to collect the special assessments and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-42 as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Again, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Yes, Reed?
Yes.
Gopel is absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Lorraine?
Yes.
Krug is absent. Patrick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
All right. Moving on to the next public hearing. This is Stony Brook West Winds Drainage System Maintenance Special Assessment District, hearing on special assessment roll. This is a public hearing on the special assessment roll for the Stony Brook West Winds Drainage System Maintenance Special Assessment District to pay for periodic maintenance of the stormwater drainage system that services the Stony Brook and West Winds condominium subdivisions. The proposed roll assesses $56.69 per unit in 2022, which includes township administrative cost, and $50 per unit each year thereafter. The annual assessment amount may be adjusted based on actual cost. The board will now accept public comment on the following: an individual's assessment in relation to the benefit received, the total cost of the project, and the validity of the proceedings to date. I will now open the meeting up for public comment. Again, this is only on the Storybrooke West Winds Drainage System Maintenance Special Assessment District. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the board? Anybody in the audience that would like to address the board? Hearing none, we'll move to Zoom. Is there anybody that has joined us this evening via Zoom that would like to address the board? All right, I will now close public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Okay, resolution number 2022-43. Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2022-43, confirm special assessment roll number 2022-05 as the assessment roll for the Storybrooke West Winds Drainage System Maintenance Special Assessment District. Divides the assessment into annual installments with the first installment due December 1st, 2022. Assesses a 1% per month penalty on late installments. Directs the clerk to deliver the special assessment roll with warrant attached to the treasurer. Directs the treasurer to collect the special assessments and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt resolution 2022-43 as presented.
So moved. Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Patrick.
Yes.
Kessler, Krug, and Gopal are absent. Tucker.
Yes.
Lorraine.
Yes.
Reed.
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution's adopted.
All right. Moving on to the next public hearing. This is Kurtwood Drive Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District, hearing on special assessment roll. This is the public hearing on the special assessment roll for the Kurtwood Drive Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District to pay for needed repairs and improvements to the stormwater drainage system on Kurtwood Drive. The special assessment roll has been amended to reflect a correction to administrative cost. The per parcel assessment increased from $344.45 to $350. If the roll is confirmed as amended, the assessment will be collected in a single installment on the December 2022 property tax roll. The board will now accept public comment on the following: an individual's assessment in relation to the benefit received, the total cost of the project, and the validity of the proceedings to date. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. And again, this is just on the Kurtwood Drive Drainage Improvement Special Assessment District. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board? Yes, sir. Can you come up to the podium, please, and just state your name?
Hi, my name is Chris Rowley. I live off Silver Ridge. I missed the first couple of meetings on this, so I apologize. Just a couple questions. The area in discussion, is that just off of the cul-de-sac, or is that where the new parcel build was for the drainage?
Refer these to our engineer.
Yeah, I think we have our engineers.
Our
on Zoom.
engineer's on. Alan or Melissa, could you, did you hear his question?
Yeah, you're asking where the low area is, where this work is gonna happen?
Yes, ma'am.
There's an existing culvert beneath Kurtwood that is just, east of 15096 Pinewood. There's a low area that's just south of that on the east side of Kurtwood, and that does not drain to the west side where the whole drainage area is. So this culvert is going to, basically it's gonna work like a roadside ditch. The culvert's gonna attach the low area to the culvert that does go under Kurtwood so that that low area can drain properly to the drain on the west side of Kurtwood. Does that make sense?
And would that location be where the new parcel, parcel 005 went up, or would that be south of that?
I don't know where 005 is.
On the map indicated in the meeting, there's a spot where they've dug up the grass and took down the trees. So that's where 005 is at.
Did you hear that, Melissa?
I just don't know where 005, I don't know where they dug up trees, I don't know.
He said there were trees removed.
Pinewood, is that Kurtwood, where's 005?
So 005 is a Pinewood address, but it backs up to Kurtwood. So I can point it out on the map if you'd like.
I think it's, I'm looking at tiny little letters, 1510
108.
108?
Yes, ma'am.
The low area is just north of that parcel.
Okay. So when my wife and I moved in 2017, we would take frequent walks with our dog down Kurtwood. We liked walking through the neighborhood, past the trees on both sides, and shortly after we moved in, we began noticing that parcel 005 began construction on their house. In doing so, they removed a significant amount of trees and foliage from that area. I'm not arguing that the water increase is there and that it's needed. What I am arguing is that we are currently looking at charging a tax assessment to every residence along these streets when the packet that I gave each of you clearly shows that the amount of foliage that they've taken down is significant. There's also an article attached at the back from Purdue University that indicates that a single tree can absorb anywhere from 10 to 150 gallons of water per day. Because of the removal of that tree and foliage, I believe that that parcel has increased the amount of water significantly to the point where it is now needed to be fixed.
Melissa, would you like to address that? Or can you address that?
I guess I don't have the package, but generally, that's not how we design. We don't design using trees to absorb stormwater. You know, if you're designing for stormwater, you've got to design a pipe system, swale system, whatever, that'll carry a 10-year storm. If you're designing detention, you design for the 100-year storm. But there's nowhere that you take into account foliage, except for, you know, if you're talking about asphalt or rooftops, you know, impervious versus pervious, and grass is the same as trees, is in those calculations. So I guess maybe I'm only answering it from an engineering standpoint and what we're required to design for when you have a new subdivision going in, or, you know, whatever. So I don't think I can answer to trees. It's just not something that is used in design work.
I'm not here to argue. I just wanted noted that you're causing numerous individuals to suffer a financial loss, which I understand is a benefit. I'm not arguing that whatsoever or that it's needed. I am arguing that because 1 to 2 parcels, 005 and 004, took down a significant amount of trees, the water has increased, and that now has been brought to attention that we need to have drainage improved. So whether it's taken into engineering accounts or not, it has increased since those trees have been taken down. Every picture on there is from Google Earth or Google Street View. Those pictures were taken in 2016 prior to the development. The pictures showing the removal of trees and the current state were taken September 29th of this year by myself. So there is a clear indication of tree removal, and I haven't lived here as long as some of my neighbors, but the water issue was not there when I moved in, and the construction wasn't there.
Can I ask you a question? Do you have those? I don't have them, so I'm asking. The pictures this year, are you having flooding now?
Yes, ma'am. I don't have them in pictures because it didn't rain between now and then when I could get photographs, but yes, we do have flooding. There's no doubt in my mind. I'm not arguing that it's needed. It is.
No, I'm just saying, I was just curious if you had flooding this year because we've been so dry.
No, there have been puddles at the bottom of the lake, or the bottom of the hill. I fully understand that it's needed. I'm not arguing that whatsoever. Just I want it taken into account that the issue wasn't this prevalent before the construction began. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris, I appreciate it. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
Rick Sabansky.
Would you mind going up there and just give us your first and last name, please?
Rick Sobansky, just a question maybe to Tom is, do we have a time frame to get that done, Tom? Do we know when?
I think like the last question, this fall.
Great,
is the plan.
okay. Yeah, we want to get it done before winter because that's the danger part when that freezes over the road, so.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate that.
Project scope wise, it's not a big project, so I think it'll be done real quickly.
Anyone else that is in attendance tonight that would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
Dan Pichitino. I'm on Lake Farms Court. They have included the houses on Lake Farms Court in this project because of our stormwater drainage system going underneath Kirkwood. We have taken it upon ourselves to go out and identify where the discharge is for our stormwater system. It is at the culvert that the engineer is now saying that they're going to open that ditch up and use it to drain off the other one. But at the present time, our stormwater system discharges into its own ditch, travels 14 feet, and goes into a culvert under the road with no breaks in those walls. Our water cannot go anywhere except under the road and into the big pond. They've included our houses in this, even though we're not contributing to the problem. I have pictures of the drainage and how it's set up if anybody would like to see it. I'm not sure if the engineers have looked at this or not.
Melissa?
So what we went off of is the design of the subdivision there, and per the engineer's design, it shows a culvert that runs in between, I don't have the addresses in front of me, and then it discharges to the north and flows towards that culvert beneath Kirkwood. So that is in fact, there's storm easements that run that way too. So if you have a different design or something different, we just don't have access to that. We have how it was designed.
Well, the lots that you're talking about, one of them is my lot, and it runs underneath, but it's in a tile underground.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come out, it doesn't appear above ground until you're 14 feet from Kirkwood. It has its own ditch and its own tile going underneath Kirkwood. It is not contributing to the problem that's 40 yards down the road from here.
Okay, so you're saying that pipe is enclosed the whole way to that culvert then?
Yes, it is. There's a 14-foot stretch from where our pipe ends and the tile underneath the road begins. And it has its own ditch, and none of the water from that ditch can escape out unless it was just ridiculously high to go up to that other area to flood it.
Did you guys do dye testing? Did you televise it? How did you find that?
Well, at the last meeting, we spoke with Mr. Rousseau, who is one of them who's requesting to have this done. And he had spoke to the original owners of that property who knew where the drainage was at. And they put us in the right direction, and it was easy to find after that.
But it is underground.
Yes, it is.
So, but you found it underground. That's just what I'm just.
It's the only discharge on Kirkwood.
Okay.
Any questions? Would anybody like to see the?
Yeah.
Melissa, is this something that maybe, I was just advised we don't have to really, we could actually close this out tonight, the public hearing out tonight, and bring it back up at the next meeting. Do you feel that this is something that, do you feel confident in your findings, or is it something we need to look at?
I understand what he's saying. I just, we would have to probably do a dye test to confirm. I know where he's talking about that culvert or the pipe that comes out of the ground 14 feet before that culvert. What I don't know is where that pipe is, where that's bringing water from. And what he's saying is that's his pipe. So probably a dye test or running a camera, something would do that. Yes, we can look into that.
How many homes would be affected by this change? I mean, how many are gonna come off this roll? How is this roll gonna be affected? I mean, we're talking $350. I mean, not that that's not,
1, 2,
I'm
3,
just saying
4,
that.
5, 6, 7, 8. 9 properties.
Yeah, 9 out of the 27, so a third of them.
A third of them.
So go up to roughly 500.
Yeah, I'd go up to 500. I'm just wondering,
Well, we need to find out, because if there's no benefit. to
right,
those
no, I
nine,
agree. I agree.
Then there's no reason to assess them in the district. And that's really the $50 question, is whether they're getting any benefit out of that.
Yeah,
And it
no,
sounds
I
like
agree.
Melissa
Okay,
can
thank
figure
you.
that out for us.
So, Melissa, I guess, give me a call tomorrow and we can talk about what needs to be done in a cost-efficient manner.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. So I guess, is there anybody else that would like to address the board? Only on the Kirkwood Drive Drainage Improvement Special Assessment. I guess since we're going to put this off anyway, correct? I'll just close the public hearing and then we can, okay.
Yeah, we can just, the hearing requirement is done, and at the next meeting on the 18th, we can bring back the roll either as is or amended.
Amended roll.
And then,
Does that satisfy you?
yes.
Okay. All right, I will now close the public hearing. So we don't go on to the resolution, we'll move on to the next one.
So
Next-
we're clear though, if you want to be heard, you do need to come to the next meeting. Okay? I think, I mean, it's not, we're not gonna forget what you all said, but what happens may vary based on what we find out from the engineering test or whatever. I don't know how that's gonna end, you know.
When is the next meeting?
We're 2 weeks out,
18th.
so 18th.
I think it's 18th.
6:30.
Yes. Same time, 18th, 6:30.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And we'll, all right.
Check it out.
All right, moving on to the next public hearing was proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District Crane Lake Hearing and Necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a new Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Crane Lake for the continuation of the weed control program. The total estimated cost for the project is $45,325 spread over a 5-year period. The board will now accept public comment on the following only: the creation of the special assessment district, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost for the improvement. I will now open it up for public comment, and again, this is just on the proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Crane Lake. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to address the board? Yes? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Liz Updegraff. I've lived on Crane Lake for 28 years, and I think this is the 3rd time that we're gonna treat the lake for 5 years. Second.
Is it?
Yeah,
That's
this is-
enough out of
this
you.
is- There's been 2 5-year.
2 5-years.
Programs.
So
This-
10
if
year-
this one goes forward, this will be the 3rd.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I'm opposed, especially to be taxed to put chemicals in our lake. I think that we shouldn't put anything in the lake that we wouldn't drink ourselves. And I know that's maybe pie in the sky, but, you know, the weeds they're a natural part of the lake. We don't live alongside a swimming pool. It's a real lake with real wild animals, all kinds. And I just assume not pay for it out of my taxes, something I don't want. And that's pretty much all I want to say. Put it on record. Thank you.
Understand. Thank you, Liz. It was somebody else? Yes? Yes, sir.
My name's Dan Herbeck. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for what you do. I mean, it's a thankless task. So, my perspective of it is, you know, I respect Liz's opinion. We do have an invasive species problem, though. Started out with milfoil. We now have curly leaf and starry stonewort on our starry stonewort on our lake as a result of, you know, boats being brought onto the lake. Those are invasives, which can affect our plant life and fish life on the lake, the natural stuff that should be there. We have been doing spot treatments with aquatic nuisance and following the one of the management plans that we had our lake evaluated, and one of the solutions was to do spot treatment, and that's what we're doing. my opinion as somebody that's out on the lake and seeing it, you know, it works. So that's my perspective. Thank you.
Dan, thank you. Is there anybody else that's in attendance this evening? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to Zoom. Is there anybody on Zoom? I see somebody raising their hand, and what's the first name?
Cat.
Is it Kat?
It's Kathleen.
Kathleen.
My name is Kathleen Lace. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. You know, it's the school teacher in me. I've been a resident on Crane Lake for 34 years. I'm on the north road side, the east side of Crane Lake. And I am here yet again to voice my strident opposition to putting chemicals in Crane Lake. Michigan is home to 20% of our Earth's fresh water. And we, as residents of Michigan, are responsible to care for that 20% of the Earth's fresh water. Chemically treating a spring-fed, fresh water source is highly irresponsible and detrimental. Every year for the past 10 years, since 2012, there have been chemical treatments put into Crane Lake. There continues to be limited evidence of effective treatment. In fact, if I look at the proposal, there's been an increase in the number of acres needing treatment for both the milfoil and the native populations by 2 acres for each. So we've been treating it for 10 years, and now we're 2 acres apiece needing more treatment. I have never been in favor of chemically treating Crane Lake, and I do not support the proposed lake improvement special assessment. You're welcome to ask me any questions. It absolutely puts me over the top.
Thank you.
I don't even get it. I don't understand it.
You want to keep your speech, John?
Sure.
Always seems to help.
What our role here is to not decide the ecology questions for you, okay? That's not our job. I'm not qualified to do that. I don't know anybody on this
I'm
board.
sorry, I have to turn this down a little. Go ahead.
Say, the board is not qualified to make decisions on the environmental questions that are in play. There's two sides to the equation. Treatment for the benefits so the lake doesn't become dead or non-usable because of weeds, ecological arguments that you've raised. We're not qualified or competent or have the desire to make that decision. What our role in this is to try and do what the residents want done. And it varies from lake to lake. We have hearings like this on most of the lakes here. We have a lot of lakes in this neighborhood. So what our goal is to determine what the majority of the residents on the lake want with respect to the lake itself. I was here for the last couple of these hearings on this lake. This has been probably the most contentious lake on this issue. It was vocal on both sides. It's just been that way. I don't know why it's different than most of the others, but it is. And I don't care. I don't need to pick a side or the other. But the last time what we determined was that over 50% of the fill in the blank frontage?
Land area.
Lake area?
Land area.
Land area.
The land area surrounding the lake?
Of the properties in the district.
Yeah, so this is a state statute. It isn't anything that the Fenton Township has passed. It isn't anything that we have moral judgment on. It's what the law is. And the law says if you get more than 50%, then the board has the opportunity to do that. Our position has been exactly that, is to try and ascertain the desire of the residents and implement that. Last time, we had over 51%, and we could determine and quantify that. I'm sitting here tonight, I don't know. I don't know what we've got, so Tom, help me out.
Well, under the statute, only the first time in 2012 did they do a petition. And as has been the township's, the board's policy with what are in effect, but they're not legally renewals, but in effect they're renewals, the new special assessments, is the township board initiates the special assessment by resolution. And if 20% of the land area files written objections at or before the hearing, then they have to go back and do a petition again. Right now, we've got written objections equaling about 11%.
I just also wanted to ask, so I know we generally, although the state only requires it to be by frontage, we generally prefer when there's actual majority of the residents. Do we know how many on that original petition?
I don't have access to that right now. It was close.
Yeah, she has it, we have your letter, Kathleen,
Yeah, that's what I
and
was
the
trying to
information is
refer
in
to.
there. What she's, 42 assessed properties, only 20 signed the petition 5 years ago is what Kathleen,
Would have been 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
So can I, when it first happened, may I speak?
Absolutely.
Okay, when we first went through this petition, when it was back, and it was in 2012, 2013, I know because that was the year my daughter got married, and I was torn between working on not getting chemicals in my lake and my daughter's wedding in the backyard. And, more of the residents did not want chemicals in the lake, and I still even have all the little signed slips of paper, I kept them. More residents did not want chemicals than people who owned property. And just as I said, like I quoted that part of my 2017 thing, when you go to the properties that are on the north side of our lake, those are ginormous properties. But the trailer park, manufactured home park, those are big properties. They're not numbers of people. So yes, and in 2017, you all did say, just like you said just now, it's a state rule. But Fenton Township still has done nothing to mediate taking people over property. And that's what we're doing here. We're saying property rules. If you have a lot of money in your big properties, you get to wipe out the little people who had a different voice. To be honest with you, I do not know what the voice of the people around the lake would be now. We have no way of communicating. Dan Herbeck is sitting in the audience. He knows that we have an email list that 3 people are willing to be on. 3 out of 32 properties. You're not like doing a great job of communicating here. So I don't know I don't know how it would come out. Last time around when we first did this, I went to every single person to ask for their input. And I don't know where it sits right now. I just don't. But I do know that I don't want chemicals in my lake. And I do know it's not the township's role to determine whether or not we put chemicals in the lake. It's your role to assign the assessment. I don't want the assessment.
Thank you.
Is that all clear?
Yes, it does.
But
Thank you.
I do have all the documentation from the very beginning, because I'm a pack rat too.
Noted. All right. Go ahead. Stand up, please, if you don't mind.
For clarity, what she said was inaccurate. We have an association, but because of COVID, it hasn't met, but we do have a mailing list. She says there's only three people on it, but there's only 3 people that want to have their emails distributed because of harassment from others. All the rest are sent blind copy by their request. So we have probably, I'm going to guess, about 85% of the people, that's a guesstimate of that are on distribution. They just don't want to be on an open distribution.
Anybody else that is here presently that would like to address the board? Again, just on Crane Lake. Okay, we have heard from anyone. I will now close the No, did you? Go ahead, ma'am. I'll let you come up. Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Patty. I have a question. I understand that it's not the township's issue as to the chemicals that are being put in the lake, but whose issue is it? Say for instance, your neighbor was treating the lake and they weren't supposed to be. who would you report that to?
DEQ.
DEQ.
DEQ?
That's real serious.
Okay.
Yeah, Eagle would, be on that.
That would be a problem.
Now,
That'd
do you
be a
have to
big
witness
problem.
them doing that?
Huh?
Do you have to witness them doing that, or can you just, from the lake frontage, and it be obvious that they've dumped chemicals on, themselves?
I don't know the answer to that. You'd have to talk to the DEQ about it.
Thank you.
It is my understanding, and again, it's Dan, correct?
Yes.
That didn't, your lake association hire an independent firm to come in to assess?
Yes.
Okay,
Restorative
so you are
science.
one of the ones that actually have taken the, win it,
No.
as,
No, they have a company, well, aquatic nuisance.
oh, but they didn't hire a consulting
It's
firm?
not a separate consulting.
Oh, it's not a,
Yeah, it
okay.
was done independently of aquatic nuisance, but
Okay.
restorative lake science, they assessed the lake, and, basically they were saying the same thing, that, spot treatment is one of the effective ways, because if the invasives get out of control, then it would have to be a full kill of the lake, which I don't think anybody wants to go to that level.
Okay. I am going to close public comment. Okay, resolution number 2022-45. Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Resolution 2022-45 approves the plans and estimated cost $45,325, creates Crane Lake Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, which includes all properties with frontage on Crane Lake, directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-45 as presented.
I'll make the motion.
We have a second? Motion's been moved. There is no second.
I will just explain where I'm at. I don't have any idea what the residents want today. I know what they wanted 10 years ago. I don't know how many of those residents have changed. What I know is we've got a manageable number of parcels. Not saying an easy number of parcels, but there's 42 parcels. It's not 350. I am torn between, without people knowing that 20% would trigger a new petition process, we've got 11%. I'm pretty sure that if that fact were known and acted on, they may well likely get 20%. I don't know, because how many do we have opposed?
3.
3? So if you get 3 more?
Well, there were 3 large parcels. But that language is in the public notice that they received, whether I read it or not, I realize.
I'm talking about human beings, I understand. Legalities, I know legally we can do that. I don't have a problem, and I know that as our past practice, that if one of these came up and we didn't have opposition, then I wouldn't have a problem with it. But to me, there's enough opposition to the level where I think they could trigger the 20%. I don't know whether to suggest that we postpone it to allow people to, what I would really like is for somebody to go out and try and approach all 42 and give us what the current lay of the land is with respect to treatment of the lake. That's what I would really like. Because I don't want to do anything that the residents want to do. It's their lake. They will be the ones that suffer the consequences of the decision, either financially or environmentally or whatever they are. So that's where I'm at with it. So
I don't know if the board, maybe Mr. Belzer can tell us, can the board just say they won't proceed without a petition again? Is that an option?
That's an option, and if you get to 20%, what happens then,
Then
it stops everything until you get 50%,
On a
over
petition,
50%.
Right.
So one of the options you might have is just wait for petitions to come in one way or the other, and then the board has a clear idea what the residents want.
We recommend a motion and
One other
stating
thing,
that.
there's something else the board needs to understand. The timing of this was really late. We got the request normally specials are already done. Any delay at this point, it won't be on this year's tax roll. Now, we'll have some options, we might be able to do a summer collection to get it caught up if it gets approved. But, you know, that's also, we're dealing with, if this stayed on track, we'd be confirming the roll on November 1st, less than a month before tax bills go out. And any delay means it will not be on this year's tax roll, just so the board understands that. Doesn't mean you should change your decision.
Yeah, you know, while we were chatting about it, I think we have done this in the past, and I'm creating work for the township staff, but I think we have created a ballot. You know, basically, there's been a proposal to renew it at X dollars for 5 years for treatment. Are you in favor or are you not? And then you gotta respond by date X. I don't know what kind of level of participation we get for that, but I've been on the other side of these. You know, it doesn't matter whether you're for or against it. It's a pain in the neck. I understand there was some acrimony the last time that it happened. So if it's something that comes from the township with the date certain to give us your input, then I would kind of look at it and see what we have at that point. I don't know what it would tell me. I wouldn't know until I saw it, but.
Well, to keep it on the timeline, again, maybe Mr. Belzer can tell us if this is acceptable. If the board went ahead and created the district, scheduled a hearing on the special assessment roll for November 1st, with the idea that ballot process would have to be done within that 2-week period, and then come back, and then if the board decided not to confirm the roll, it would still be dead.
Yeah, very imaginative, but I think acceptable way.
Do you feel, for those of you that are here, speaking to just the Crane Lake, do you feel that 2 weeks would give you ample amount enough time to reach those 42 parcels to get signatures stating yay or nay? Is that fair? Because that way, the board would have that information at the next meeting and still be able to get it on the tax rolls, get the money coming in, so you'll be able to get treated.
We can actually mail it out.
Well, I'll just speak to something, and John, you're right. And one of the things that this board was nice enough to do is when we talked about updating our social media and everything else, was to find a process that we do a better job. And it's really not our responsibility. It is your responsibility, but I think the township can find a way that we can help when it comes to these special assessment, especially when we're treating our lakes, that maybe we can find a process that doesn't cost the taxpayer any money, but uses social media to do it, and maybe I'll start working on that myself, because we have had this conversation a lot, and I know it's controversial. There's a lot of people on both sides, but again, our job is only to listen to the residents of that lake and say if there's more than 50%, then our job is just to set up the assessment roll. That is it. So, do we want to go ahead and do that? Do you guys feel that that's going to give you enough time?
Is it by land or is it by people? I never clarified that.
The statute is by land area. We try, we hope, we like to see the majority of the residents by number, but that is not what the statute says. At this point, I just want information, because right now I don't have a good sense at all.
Sorry, the statute allows us to do it if it's more than 50% by frontage, and then on top of that, we have to decide whether or not we're actually going to do it. Is that?
That is correct.
Based on the factors.
I mean,
Not frontage on land area.
legally, you could have a petition with 100%.
And we could say no.
Legally, could still
Right.
say no.
Right.
So it ultimately does fall on the township board to make the final decision. But to John's point, having a better feel for what the majority wants, whether you're looking at a majority of the land area in the district or a majority of the property owners.
And under the time constraints, the treasurer will fund the 42 postage stamps or meter reads, whatever we need.
All right.
The treasurer's money, not for the
And that
township's money.
taxpayer.
Postage paid both ways with a return envelope
Oh,
included?
God, you're killing me, Tom, yeah. Yeah, no, that's actually the right way to do it.
Well, I guess the question is that going to give, do you feel that that's adequate time on both sides? I mean, you have 43 residents? 42. I mean, I would knock on doors. I mean, if it's that important, if you're for or against, I'd say you have 42 houses to knock on and get the information into Tom as quick as possible. But saying that, then what this board, I will again ask this board to go ahead and support that resolution, knowing that in the next meeting, that based on those numbers, that we can
Let me
vote
tell you
differently.
why I was suggesting mailing, because it's the equivalent of a blind ballot. Okay, it is a blind ballot.
Sure.
And what I'm trying to do is take the politicking out of the equation, because when you go around to these and somebody's knocking on your door, a lot of people just aren't gonna come to the door. You know, they don't wanna get their arm twisted in whatever
That's
direction.
true.
And so, to me, if it comes on a township letterhead, it's got a date that you gotta respond, I've given you every opportunity to give me your input. And if you choose not to, or, you know, you do, whatever, I'm gonna act on that. But I'm trying to get the politicking out of it, because that's what causes the harm. I think Kathleen mentioned it in her email, she says it's still ongoing. I mean, this is pretty hot for this sort of thing, so if we can do something to take the flame off a little bit, I would suggest we do that.
All right, so what I'm gonna do then is go ahead and present the resolution. We can vote on the resolution, knowing that the township will send out notice to all 42 residents in a ballot form with a return envelope in it, postage prepaid, and we will be back in 2 weeks. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right, okay, resolution number 2022-45, operations, you already read that.
Yes, we do have a motion.
We have a motion.
Now
We have a motion.
Now we got a second.
Now we got a second. All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Gopel is absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Krug is absent. Reed?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
All right.
Can I just say thank you very much for honoring what may or may not be different around our lake? I
Yep.
really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, so we don't need to move on to the in anticipation.
No, we still need
They
to
still-
schedule a
that-
hearing, yes.
All right, in anticipation of the adoption of the previous resolution, a special assessment roll has been created, certified, and filed with the Genesee County Clerk's Office. Excuse me. Resolution number 2022-46, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2022-46 acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing, schedules the public hearing on the special assessment roll at the November 1st board meeting, directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute, and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
Thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-46 as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Kessler and Krug are absent. Reed?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Gopel's absent. Motion carries. Resolution's adopted.
All right. Moving on to the next public hearing is proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District, Dollar Lake. Hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a new Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Dollar Lake for the continuation of the weed control program. The total estimated cost of the project is $35,300 spread over a 5-year period. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the Special Assessment District, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost for the improvement. I'll now open the meeting for public comment. And again, this is just on the proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Dollar Lake. Is there anyone in attendance that would like to address the board? Yes, sir.
My name is Matt Scramlin. First, let me say, as someone that's been a member of many, many boards for many organizations, that past discussion you had was a very inventive way of working through, of getting good information, and know that I was very respected for some of us out there, how you worked that, so good job. My comment would be, living on Dollar Lake, the treatment has been good. The request I would make to whoever we would perhaps do that to the people that do the services for us. When they come through and do the posting, their way of doing that is stapling to my tree that is on the lake, that is now riddled with metal staples and nails from past assessments, and that whether we could figure out a way of them using stakes or wood stakes or something to put in the grass that is then removed. I understand the necessity of warning people that there's chemicals in the water for that 24 hours. However, the damage that is happening to the trees, that I'm sure was unintentional, but is a thing that is happening around, at least I can see it on my property, and I'm sure every other tree around the lake that they do that would be appreciated. So, thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Tom, who does that?
Aquatic nuisance, I'm sure that's something they can.
Yeah,
we can have some
aquatic
information.
nuisance does probably the majority of the lakes, so I'm sure that if you have somebody that can contact them, and that's a good point.
Get with me after
All right. Is there anybody else in attendance that would like to address the board regarding Dollar Lake? We will move on to Zoom. Is there anybody attending this meeting tonight via Zoom that would like to, oh, I'm sorry, sir. Whoa.
Otto Corber on Dollar Lake Drive. All I wanted to know was, we pay our taxes, and that treatment's included every year, correct?
Correct.
So why do we have to have a special assessment?
Well,
It's not-
no, it's a special assessment on your tax roll, but every 5 years it expires.
Oh,
And
okay.
so this is a new 5-year assessment
Okay.
to replace the old.
Can we do something about the lily pads on the north end of the lake? Or it's
Lily
that,
pads are kind of off limits, except if it's if it's around a dock where it's affecting people's ability to get their boat in and out, they can usually get a permit to treat lily pads, but they're not, those are native, and generally speaking, lily pads do not get treated.
you can't do anything about them?
Not
or-
legally.
Okay. Okay, that's all I asked.
I think I saw someone else that raised their hand.
This gentleman was about ready to get up and think. Yeah?
No? All right, I'll take it back to Zoom. Is there anybody else attending via Zoom tonight that would like to address the board regarding Dollar Lake? All right, I will now close the public hearing. Are there any questions or comments from the board? All right. Resolution number 2022-47. Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes. Resolution 2022-47 approves the plans and estimated cost of $35,300 for each of the Dollar Lake Improvement Special Assessment District Number 3, which includes all properties with frontage on Dollar Lake and the channel between Dollar Lake and Little Long Lake. Directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt resolution 2022-47 as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Gopel and Kessler are absent. Reed?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Krug is absent. Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
All right, in anticipation of the adoption of the previous resolution, a special assessment roll has been created, certified, and filed with the Township Clerk. Resolution number 2022-48, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2022-48 acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing. Schedules a public hearing on the special assessment roll in November 1st board meeting. Directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute. Repeals any conflicting resolutions.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right. I need a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-48 as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you please call the roll?
Lorraine?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Kessler and Gopel are absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Krug is absent. And Reed?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
All right, moving on to the next public hearing, which is proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Lake Christie. Hearing of necessity. This is a public hearing on the creation of a new Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Lake Christie for the continuation of the weed control program. The total estimated cost of the project is $21,180 spread over a 5-year period. The board will now accept public comment on the following: the creation of the special assessment district, the proposed boundaries of the district, the necessity of the improvement, the preliminary plans for the improvement, and the estimated cost of the improvement. I will now open up the meeting for public comment. And again, this is just on the proposed Lake Improvement Special Assessment District for Lake Christie. Is there anyone attending tonight that would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, just a few questions about the
Can you get
assessment.
your name, please?
Carol Mullaney. How many units, not all the units on Lake Christie, there are other units in the subdivision that are not on Lake Christie. So how many units are going to share the cost?
I believe there are 38 properties. It's the same ones that have been assessed for the last couple of times we've done. This is the third time around for this one as well. And so there are a combination of some of the duplex units or the attached units and the individual homes. But it's 38 total property owners in the proposed district.
Okay, and is that an increase from what was the previous roll the 5 years ago?
As far as the number of properties?
No, the number of, the amount of money.
The cost is a little higher. I don't have the old one with me. But we're looking, it's not a lot higher. The first year, because it also includes administrative costs. Again, this is the hearing on creating the district. The hearing on the roll would be later, but the roll has been created. Including the admin fees, admin costs, it's $150 the first year. Then it's 97, 100, 103, 106 proposed.
Over, so 150 the first year. You said 90 the next year?
97 and 100, 103 and 106. A little average, a little over $100 per year.
Which is not unreasonable. What is involved in the treatment of the lake?
As Mr. Tucker says, we're not experts on that. It's identifying areas of non-native plants, invasive species, and treating to remove them so they don't choke out the native plants and wildlife.
And what's allowed to be applied and the quantity and frequency is all regulated by the state. So the contractor has a contract to do it, and they do have discretion. I don't want you to think they don't have input, but in terms of what chemicals are allowed to treat which plants and what quantities and how often, that's all comes from the state level.
Okay. So in prior years, last year, they came in and cut down all the rushes on the side of the ponds, on the condo side of the pond, in an attempt to discourage muskrat population. We have a wide variety of animals that live in the lake. It's almost like a nature preserve, if you will. So are these chemicals safe for the animals?
Talk to the state about it. That's the whole point of the regulation is that they've been deemed safe by the state, so we don't have to make those kind of determinations. But I'm sure you can find interesting discussion on that issue on both sides of the equation. But
And I'm sure all the chemicals being used, is that aquatic nuisance also?
No, this is a PLM.
PLM could provide the information of all of the chemicals that are being used in the lake, and I'm sure, there's a lot of information out there. But again, as Mr. Tucker said, Treasurer Tucker said, they're all approved by the state.
Okay.
I'm not saying there's...
That's the only thing you can put down is what's approved by the state,
Right.
in the quantities and in the frequencies they allow.
Okay.
And they have to tell them, we're using this to treat Eurofoil or Stony Starwort or whatever it is. And, it's based on the volume of water, and, it's a science project is what it is, just on a large scale.
Okay. One of the members of the association had mentioned like a fountain or putting more aeration into the lake itself. Is that something that's proposed with this assessment, or we really don't know?
It's not part of that one.
Proposal.
It's not part of it.
Is it a regulated
Just be
wetland?
chemical.
Do we know? Is it a regulated wetland? I don't know. I'm not familiar with this lake, so. How big
It's
is it?
in Fenton Orchards.
Fenton Orchards?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a small lake.
More than 3 acres?
I think it's 7.
I don't know.
A pond?
It's a pond.
It's a pond. It's 7 acres. It's mostly a wildlife reserve is what it is. The geese come and stop into the way through. I just wanted to make sure that what we were approving was, ecologically sound. And the price doesn't seem unreasonable, but it's only the people that have access to the lake that are being charged the roll, correct?
That's correct.
All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in attendance tonight? Yes, ma'am.
Mary Ann Brostick. I live on Boulder Drive. I would like to know if there has been one or two quotes on the 5-year proposal, and who is the companies that are proposing.
The proposal we received was from PLM, because that was the company providing the service for the last 5 years. I had assumed that's who all we would get. I did receive another quote today from Aquatic Nuisance, which I was not anticipating, and I didn't even have a chance to open it. It came like at 5 o'clock, I think. But if the residents favor one over the other, the board can work with either one.
Well, perhaps I'd like to know the dollar figures of the two quotes to see what they are. And I would prefer Aquatic Nuisance. We had PLM for the last 5 years, and I wasn't really satisfied with their service. And then I also got a quote from Aquatic Nuisance, and the biggest problem we have had is on the edge. It's been this year especially, just all that green moss has never gone away. It's been treated, but it's never gone away like it has in the past, or when Aquatic Nuisance treated it. So can we postpone this, or can we look at the two quotes and see price-wise what we're talking about? And
Well, I think we can kind of take the same approach we did with Crane. In order to get it on this year's tax roll, we can't delay the process, but if we can make a decision between now and the next hearing, we can amend the roll at the second hearing if we're changing to a different proposal. Like I say, it was not here until this afternoon sometime. I was not aware that PLM had contacted me, said that theirs is expired, here's a new one. I assumed it came from the association, but if that's not the case, we can certainly entertain a second quote.
And again, Marion, just so you understand, it's not the township's responsibility to get multiple quotes. It's the residents. So it would be up to your association or whatever that would go, knowing that this was coming up when you were advised, and then reaching out to the companies that you would be interested in. But the township does not do that.
okay, because PLM did not send anybody a quote, any one of the residents.
I don't think we would have a problem if we just set up the roll today, and I guess if the association would like to get another bid, that could be discussed at the next meeting, and we could adjust the roll accordingly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we have the quotes here, so if you want copies of them.
Yes,
we can
please.
get 'em
Are you
here.
sure that's for Lake Christie?
It was, yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I say, it came in this afternoon. I wasn't even expecting it, and I had assumed that they were just re-upping with PLM. If that's not the case, we can certainly work that in and make a decision.
So we can have copies available tomorrow for
Okay.
anybody that wants them? Is that fair?
Okay, when could I get the copies?
Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow morning?
Tomorrow.
The PLM one is on the public information packet that's on the website, if that's the one you're looking for.
That's the one.
As you said, you already have the one from Aquatic Nuisance?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So the one from PLM is part of the public information packet. It's
Okay.
on the website.
And that total is $21,180. So I don't know where Aquatic Nuisance is sitting.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're comparing apples to apples as
Do
well.
you know what that number is?
For Aquatic, I'd have to, give me a few minutes to add it up.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, okay, I'll get back with you, Tom.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Yes.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Eve. I am new to living on Lake Christie, so I don't know anything about all this chemical stuff. But just from the prior discussion, have you received any negative letters or whatever saying people don't want it for Lake Christie?
I think I've got one. We did receive one, and I responded to them by email because it sounded like they were new and maybe didn't understand this was a continuation of something that was already in place in prior years. So I don't know if that was the basis of their objection, but I did put the written objection in the board packet for the board to see. They did not respond to my email, so I don't know if that satisfied them or if they're still opposed.
Are you talking about the letter from Cokes?
Yes.
I'm not sure I'd characterize that as being opposed. It looks more like a inquiry of, list of questions.
Well, their opening sentence, the first sentence says disappointed.
Oh, okay, yeah, I guess I cut to the chase and looked down below, yeah, okay.
And I'm not gonna lie, I'm in the same boat. I had no idea that this was something that, yes, I knew they treated the lake, but I didn't know that this was a thing that has been going on and that we were paying taxes on it already.
Do you have a lakefront property?
I do.
Okay, so you would be,
I hate to call it a tax, everybody calls it a tax.
The assessment.
Yeah, just, it's a special assessment.
The assessment.
At the request
Just
of the
shows up on
residents.
your tax bill, that's all it is.
Don't blame the treasurer.
Okay, I was just, because some of the people I can tell you in our subdivision didn't get the letter until yesterday, saying that this was even gonna happen.
Well, there's a second chance, because it comes up again in 2 weeks.
Comes up in 2 weeks.
If you would think you want to rally the troops, you've got 2 weeks to do that.
Well, it's 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah, because of the publication requirements, we can't go back-to-back meetings anymore, so we're looking at November 1st.
Yeah, but the letter that comes out says that it's for the meeting tonight. It doesn't say that you can come in a month and,
Well, it's,
There'll be another notice.
yeah, there'll be another notice.
There'll be another notice.
okay.
And it's also in the paper. These are all advertised in the Tri-County as well.
And, okay. Thank you.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Yes.
Hi, my name's Chris Grzyzbowski. I do live on the lake. Been there since 2006. A couple things. I mean, I heard what, is it Kathleen, the lady from the other lake, mentioned as far as things go. I know there's 2 other ponds within the subdivision, and my fear is that if this turns into a shouting match of who wants and who doesn't, it's pretty obvious that you could walk across those other 2 ponds. And I would really find it a disaster to property owners and the value of their homes if somebody came into the subdivision, if they were going to sell a piece of property and this got discontinued by some chance and this lake turned into a green slime pond like those other 2 ponds that are on the property. I think the home values would diminish dramatically. A thought process is, sooner or later, I'm going to be asked to pay for phase 2 and phase 3 road repair. I don't drive on phase 2 and phase 3. I don't have the construction that goes through phase 2 and 3 and is ripping the heck out of all those roads. Yet I'm going to pay for that. My question is, if you go at any time of day on Lake Christie, there's people walking from all 3 areas of the subdivision who enjoy the lake, the wildlife, the views, the tranquility of it. Why doesn't this get shared with the 100 new homes that were just put in the area? I mean, you talk about lakefront, there's no boating, there's no fishing, a couple people have kayaks, but there's no motorboats and things like that, but people enjoy the walk on a daily basis. They look at the lake, they see the sunset. I'm just curious why the the cost could be diminished down to nothing. In fact, we could all pay less if it was shared amongst the new 100 homeowners.
Around the lake? I'm not familiar with it, I apologize.
Yeah, that's like Mickey Mouse ears. So you have the lake, and then there's a phase 2 and a phase 3, those 2 just built on 100 homes.
No, I understand that subdivisions. I'm
Yep.
talking about the lake. Is there a walkway around the lake?
A national path?
No, there's just the road.
So when you say enjoying, you're talking about people walking through
Yeah,
the
but
road.
if they're close enough, if you looked, it's from anywhere that you walk, you can see the lake anywhere you walk around the lake. So they're enjoying the view of it, and on the opposite corners of the other phases, there are a couple ponds that have not been treated, and you can see the disaster as such if this doesn't go through. But I was just curious why some of the other homeowners, because their value of their house would go down if someone drove into the subdivision, the first thing they see is a green pond, yet they don't have to participate in the payment. But when their bridge goes down to their phase, or the other one is buckling now that they're gonna have to repair that road, and I could see an assessment coming to myself for probably $20,000 or $30,000 to pay for that road repair.
I understand your concern, I guess, as a riparian myself. There's probably a lot of people that pass by my house every day and get a beautiful view.
Mhm.
But I wouldn't have any clue where they came from,
Yeah.
nor would I expect them to
I mean, I think all the people have seen each other walking around, they all kinda.
Right. No, I'm just saying, I agree with you.
I'm just thinking if you took the 20 grand and you split it up amongst 125 homes versus 38 units or whatever it is.
But that's not the criteria that we can.
No,
Well,
it's just a thought process.
The statute requires that we assess properties that benefit, and I think we'd have a tough time arguing that someone who lives a quarter mile away but in the same subdivision that walks by is benefiting from the lake improvement. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do
From a
too.
legal standpoint, I think we'd lose that argument every time.
There isn't any like deeded access to the.
There's common areas that are there that people could go and have a picnic and enjoy the lake. In fact, when I called Peace of Mind, they said, we're only responsible for the common areas. So when you said, talk to your homeowners association with regard to getting involved in this, they don't want to get involved in this.
Legally, I mean, I don't mean to interrupt here, but
No.
legally, that won't work.
Okay.
I mean, it's just like Lake Fenton has some public access, but you can't assess that against all the people within, a half mile of
Sure.
the lake or something.
It was just a thought
Legally,
process.
it just wouldn't work, and what would happen is, everybody else would end up losing out after this if they went to the tax tribunal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we're clear, when we're saying to, talk to your homeowner association, we're not talking about your peace of mind.
Oh.
They are a contractor that the association hires to perform
Oh.
duties. What I'm talking
Okay.
about is every resident that's a member, an owner in that condominium has a vote
Gotcha.
on association matters.
Okay.
And, I don't know how active the association is out there. Is it an active one, or is it, do you have regular meetings?
Yeah.
One a year, okay. All right, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty laid-back community. It's a beautiful community, and I wanted to stay that way, and I think everybody would,
think everybody
vouch
agrees
for the
with the
fact that they
concept.
like walking around the area.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know I'm gonna eventually pay for their road too, but I have to because I'm part of that community.
Don't presume that, because that's the same issue is, do you get a benefit by it? What we do typically with roads, if it's roads that you don't live on that pass through, a lot of times we'll do a fractional assessment. I'm not sure if I'm in the right condo or not, but sometimes there's actually different associations for these different, the Mickey Mouse ears,
Yeah.
things that you're talking about.
Yeah, I just know that the one phase is the road's falling apart, and it has a lot to do with the heavy construction trucks that just built 50 homes there.
Yeah, don't
And-
assume it's gonna get spread everywhere. I'm not
Okay.
telling you it isn't.
Yeah.
But I'm just, it's not an assumption that you can make.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any, if you don't mind. Sorry.
Fenton Orchard subdivision has both homes and condos. The condos have a association, the homes have a separate association. So they are two separate associations. For the most part, the homes never pay for anything that has to do with condos and vice versa.
Okay.
So, and our condo association is very active and has been in place for, I have lived there 19 years and been on the board. The homes, at one point, there was one home in phase 2 and one home in phase 3. It's not until the last 2-3 years that those phases have now been almost 100% complete. So I believe now the homeowners association is more active, but many years ago it probably was just about non-existent. Nobody cared to be active in it. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Is there anybody else that's in the audience? Yes.
Just one comment on that. As I mentioned previously, we have one meeting a year, and I've been told it's to re-elect board members. I recently asked for something to be added on the agenda and was told no. Do we have any recourse on that? I mean, it is our HOA, there are our directors, but our voice isn't being heard. There are many members of our association that disagree with something that was happened recently, and I was told that I was not allowed to request a meeting or to, this was from Peace of Mind, that said, no, this was not up for a discussion. Well, we didn't get a vote. It was done without our permission, without our knowledge. And we were told months later that this happened. And it was only just casually mentioned. Oh, by the way, we did this. And no one, not a single member of the association except for the president of the HOA was aware of it. And I feel that I have a voice. And I should have a right to voice our concerns. Everyone in the association should have a right to voice our concerns about what was done on our behalf. It was an amendment to the master deed. This isn't a small thing. This isn't we're going to put bushes in over here. This is a change to the master deed that was done without our permission or knowledge. What is my recourse there?
Your remedy is political in nature, okay? Because the association is it's a nonprofit. It's a membership-driven association. So anybody that owns property in the condo is a member and is entitled to a vote. You're also entitled to determine who your officers and directors are, and that it's not a matter of re-electing people, it's a matter of expressing what the residents' will is at that point in time. So it sounds to me like you need, and maybe you don't want, but you need to get politically active in terms of who's running the show. And if you don't agree with what's being done, you need to propose, officers and that have different views than what you disagree with. But it's a political solution, and this system is set up by the state, and there's thousands of them, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of them around. And some of them are wildly active, and some of them are completely ignored, as was mentioned. So if you're not happy with what your board is doing, you need to get active, and if dialogue doesn't work, you need to get political.
Go to the meeting.
I would add to that, John. I would say that you need to understand what's allowed and disallowed in your master deed and your bylaws and your restrictions. A lot of people don't read those documents. They buy into these homeowners associations and then they complain, well, who says I can't do this? Well, it was in the master deed and in the bylaw restrictions. So you should look there first, and if the current administration of your HOA is not abiding by what is allowed in those documents, then you may have legal recourse.
But the reality is that they have the right to change the master deed without even mentioning it to us. They have too much power.
Well,
They don't.
You need to read your master
They
deed.
don't. They
and
don't
see
have the
what's
right
in
to
there.
change your master deed without
Yeah.
your consent. There's a whole process in the statute that talks about changes to the master deed. Not only does it require the consent of the homeowners, it requires, in most instances, the approval of the lenders for the homeowners, because it can affect the lender's collateral value depending on the thing. So there's a whole process that you got to go through. It isn't just a current board decides that the master deed is going to say this and such on this date. That isn't the way that program works. So there's a
we have an issue.
question. If that's what they did, there's a real question as to whether that amendment is valid if they did it without a vote of the homeowners. And Christine's point, the documents dictate. Now, some of it is governed by statute, so even if the documents say something else, the statutes control all of it. But for the most part, you know, they're drafted in compliance with the statute. So if you look at them, it'll tell you, you know, what is your right. But if you're going and asking to have something put on the agenda and they're telling you no, I'd have a serious problem with that. 'Cause that's, and you should be talking to your officers, you know, your board officers, because the folks that manage it they're not your officers, they're not your directors, they're not your bosses, they work for you.
Okay, thank you for your time.
I didn't know if you came up to ask if there's anything the board can do. So out of all the answers, just to let you know, there's nothing we can personally do. But I think John and Christine gave you some really good free legal advice, especially he's a lawyer. So, you know, that's what I would do, is get very involved. So, all right. Is there anyone that's joined us via Zoom that would like to address the board today? This is only on Lake Christie. All right, it sounds like what we're gonna do is the same thing that we did. I'm now gonna close the public hearing. I'm gonna ask Tom to read the resolution. We're going to adopt the resolution, go on to adopt the assessment roll, and then I guess we're gonna give you time to decide to take a look at both of those bids and come back in 4 weeks. Or I would communicate to Tom as soon as possible and let him know what the majority of the people would like, whether between the two companies.
What I can do is I can post kind of a revised version of the special assessment roll, option 1, option 2, on the website, so everybody can go look at it without even coming into the office. And then
So he will take both bids, create the special assessment roll based on bid 1 and bid 2. All right, and you can come very prepared. Okay, resolution number 2022-49, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2022-49 approves the plans and estimated cost of $21,180 for each Lake Christie Improvement Special Assessment District number 2, which includes all properties with legal access to Lake Christie, directs the supervisor to create a special assessment roll, repeals any conflicting resolutions.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-49 as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Motion's been moved and supported. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Yes. Kessler, Gopel, and Kruger all absent. Reed?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Kotrick?
Yes.
Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries, resolution is adopted.
Thanks, Tom. In anticipation of the adoption of the previous resolution, a special assessment roll has been created, certified, and filed with the Township Clerk. Resolution number 2022-50, Operations Manager Broker, will you please present the resolution?
Yes, resolution 2022-50 acknowledges the filing of the special assessment roll with the clerk and its availability for review until the public hearing. Schedules a public hearing on the special assessment roll at the November 1st board meeting. Directs the clerk to publish and mail the notice of hearing according to statute and repeals any conflicting resolutions.
All right, thanks, Tom. All right, I need a motion to adopt the resolution number 2022-50 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Lorraine?
Yes.
Reed?
Yes.
Kotrick?
Yes.
Krug, Kessler, and Gopel are absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Motion carries, resolution is adopted.
All right. Moving on to the next, we got through all 6 of those. All right, in record time.
Really?
The next
It is, actually.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that wasn't too bad.
Sarcastic as that sounds.
I know.
It is.
The next business order is reports. Tonight we have APM Mosquito Control for their 2022 annual report. Chuck Mullins is with us from APM. Will you kindly come up and give your report?
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Chuck Mullins with APM Mosquito Control, and I come as a bearer of much better news than last year when we lost the war. Well, we didn't lose the war, we lost the battle. The difference in this year is we're going to come in about, I believe about 11,200 under budget, which is, I'm happy. We had, I'll just keep it short and sweet. Last year we had 21 to 22 inches of rain between May 17th and 15 September at 2 of the 4 light traps where we were within the township. One was our Dollar Lake trap and Lobdell. And then the Sharp Road trap had 18.5 inches. This year we're in the 6.5 to 8.5. So that's, 66% or more less rain. We had 1,282 calls last year for service, and I had more in the month of August than I had the entire year this year. This year we had 306 calls, 212 of them are for parties. So it tells you that the number of nuisance mosquitoes was tremendously down. We did have plenty of problems last year, and I'm not going to try to beat around the bush on it, but we made some management changes. I moved down from the north office back down here, and I took over the south office. I'm also the general manager of the company. We did hire some new techs. We got them all certified. We got them rolling on the road, and it was a good year. The refocus in our southern division back on the integrity and the work ethic of APM has been reinforced, and we got a darn good crew of guys down here and gals, and yeah, we're pretty proud of them. Like I said, we sprayed a total of 1,200 miles this year. Fenton Township has 6 routes. We ran them pretty well on schedule. We treated, I think, a little over 700 acres by airplane for spring larvicidin with BTI. I did make up a list of all the chemicals that are used within the township, and along with their active ingredients and the amounts. Excuse me. But we went to a new product for our barrier work, and I've got to tell you, it's pretty impressive. It lasts 30 to 40 days. Now, last year we had, probably several, if not properties that had to be redone over the year. Basically, we were using Tempo. Tempo has about a 15-day duration, and this product demand is 30 to 40 days. And I don't think I had any repeat calls once that property received a barrier treatment for the entire year. The only ones that did get a second application were ones that had parties in between when they had their nuisance encounter and the end of this year. So this product is really good, and I will make sure you get a new updated safety data sheet and product label on it. But we've also are transferring or actually modifying some of our GPS equipment, moving away from the Monitor 4 system and going with a web-based system with Frontier. And we had 6 trucks outfitted in the beginning of this year, and we ran 2 in our north office, 2 out of our south, and 1 over on the east side of the state and 1 up in the thumb. And the tracking systems on these is just like down to within feet. I mean, if I get a call and I've got a property being off-roaded and there's a misunderstanding, or you didn't hear him or didn't see him, we can pull it up on the GIS data, and this is all live work. Right down to 11:37 p.m. at 6 miles an hour, spraying at 13 ounces a minute in your backyard, you know, so it's very impressive. It's much better and much more efficient than our Monitor 4 systems that we had went through. And but at the time when we did Monitor 4, that was the state-of-the-art tracking systems out there. So, you know, it's always changing. I think, in general, Tom, I gave you everything that we had.
Yeah, there is, on your laptops, if you notice, there are other tabs in the Adobe that have most of the reports that they provided. It was a bit much to throw in the packet, so I put it in there separately. I could forward copies to you as well if you want to have them.
Chuck, I appreciate the good news. Thank you for the good news.
Well, good.
I got to tell you though, and don't take this personally, but every time I see you, I am sad. Because when I see you, I know that my summer is gone.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, typically the 1st of October is our actually closing the doors, and the answer machine gets the close for the winter message on the voice recorder now, and that's basically where we are. We're running through doing. Hitting all of our municipals and thanking everyone. This was the current contract. We were on a 1-year extension at this time, so we'll be looking forward to the RFP, and we'll certainly be responding. And any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Chuck?
I was a little curious reading through it. It said there wasn't any West Nile in Fenton Township?
That is correct. We did have one positive in Gaines Township, okay, and that was on Cook Road. Okay. And that was on the 22nd of July. And but no further ones after that. We did have one county park up in Seawing that had four positives in a row, but we had set traps every 2 days as we were tracking down, and most of that QLEX activity was coming out of the beet factory. And we went in there and treated a whole lot of containers. Actually, they're metal tubes that were all holding water going down. And somewhere between last year and this year, they had taken the caps off of them, so they were all full of water and full of larvae. So, but that fixed that. Our lab, I'd say our lab here at the Flint office, we could test for St. Louis encephalitis, Eastern equine encephalitis, and West Nile virus. And we did a little over 300 samples this year of pools of mosquitoes. And we did have 11 total. So they were sporadic, but when it's dry, the drier the weather actually, the more prevalent West Nile becomes, because what water is out there gets more stagnant. The catch basins, even though they're treated, they're not being flushed out by rain. And QLEX just love, the dirtier, the more polluted the water is. And they're the primary vector for West Nile virus. So you just end up with a lot more QLEX when it's like that.
Thank you for what you do. I appreciate not itching. Also appreciate not getting West Nile.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, that's our goal, is to make everyone be able to enjoy the summer in a safe manner.
Well, thanks, Chuck. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We have a ordinance enforcement third quarter report. I'm sure we've all reviewed the report in the packet. Does anybody on the board have any questions regarding that? All right. Are there any committee reports to be made to the board? Hearing none, we'll move on to communications. Tom, you want to talk about the election commission meeting?
Yes, even though none of the members are here tonight, but.
Yeah.
We'll be scheduling an election
We
commission.
should give them more duties
Yeah.
then.
We'll be scheduling an election commission meeting on Tuesday, October 18th, 6 p.m. prior to the board meeting to appoint our election inspectors for the November 8th general election.
All right. Any questions for Tom regarding that? All right. Next business orders, adoption of ordinances, none. Unfinished business, none. Moving on to new business. Proposed purchase agreement for a Pierce fire truck, 107-foot Quint ladder truck. It's resolution number 2022-51, authorizing installment purchase agreement for Pierce ladder truck. I'm sure we've all reviewed the memo in the packet. Our Township Chief Volz is here this evening to explain the necessity of the ladder truck. Chief.
Well, one of my main jobs in the township is to protect it, and we need the equipment to protect it, and we need our firefighters to have the proper equipment to protect it. Over the years, our homes are getting bigger. They're getting closer together with the things that go on and people wanting to get their lot lines closer together and build the houses bigger and use the property to its max. We have gotten to the point now to where we need an elevated ladder system to, number one, assist in the safety of our firefighters when they have to go into burning structures, and also to give us an aerial line of attack for protecting exposures to these houses that are around our lakes and that are more or less built on top of each other. Everybody knows my feeling on how these are constructed, and being in the building construction industry myself, knowing the ins and outs of homes and how they burn and so on and so forth. With our manpower situation, it is growing. Many of you don't know we carry a 35-foot three-fly ladder on our one tanker, which takes at least 4 people to put up. Depending on the crew size on our initial attack, there's times that ladder doesn't get put up, and that's our second means of egress. The majority of our homes can be attacked with a 24-foot ladder. It's still 2 people to put up and 1 person to man that ladder while people are up and down it. We have 2 vehicles at this time, a 2,500-gallon tanker. There's a 1998 and a 2004 engine that will be up for service in 2 years. The purchase of this vehicle, it takes 2 years to build them. It'll take 2 years to receive it. The fire committee, we've gone through 3 or 4 meetings of discussing this along. Once we got the ambulance issue taken care of, we jumped right on to our public safety side of fire protection. It's a benefit to the fire department as far as a tool to use. It is also an additional benefit to our residents with the purchase of this equipment, lowering our ISO from a 9.6 to a 6.6X when I became chief, down to a possible 4 or a 3, which would significantly lower your insurance ratings on the average of $500 to $700 per household, which would equivalent to about almost $2 million across the board annually. The purchase of this truck is $1.2 million. We have a equipment fund that we use because we run off of our fire assessment, and those monies are for purchasing equipment. Tom and I have sat down, we've talked with Pierce, with Halt, at looking at avenues of not having to deplete our fund and actually look at financing the truck for at least 5 years, which wouldn't deplete our equipment fund, and it would give us more of an affordable payment for this purchase. 2, if we replace the 2 trucks that we have, we would be over $1.5 million. This truck here, again, with the size of our crew, we're going to be able to do more functional stuff with it. With the water coming, which I've preached before, the water coming to Thompson Road is a big help for us. This kind of apparatus will just shine with that type of water pressure. It's a 2,000 gallon per minute pump. We can flow almost twice the water we're flowing now. But we're into the area now where we need to look at our equipment matching our community. And right now our equipment's not matching our community. And in 2 years, I don't want to be behind. I think we need to move forward to this purchase. The fire committee has approved it, and that's why I'm bringing it to you guys, although none of the 3 fire committee members are here. So, any questions?
What's the boom length on that ladder?
107 foot. Well, and the other reason too is we have a lot of homes that have offsets, and a lot of our lake communities, it's more of an accessible length. I mean, they have 75 footers. They're not going to work for us. And for the price difference, it's the 107 footer is a better bang for our buck.
All right, appreciate it, Chief. Is there any questions or comments from the board?
Where are you gonna park it? Where are you gonna park it, Chief?
At Station 2.
Yeah.
This is a mock-up drawing.
It'll fit in the base? Yeah.
It's actually the same size as our tanker that we have right now.
Okay.
So this is the proposed drawing of the truck.
So that's a mock-up as well?
It's a mock-up,
Yeah.
yes. So this is what we're looking at.
Well, I also, we talk about bringing municipal water to the township, but we also talk about going through the master plan, Thompson Road corridor, and I can't, I'm sure development is gonna follow, and we're without a piece of equipment that I think that future development's going to need, and you and I have talked about it several times, Chief, that, you stick a large structure or a 6-story, 5-story hotel somewhere in this township, and we don't have the equipment to service that, so.
Well, it's just the buildings we have now. We have the 3-story assisted living at
Right.
Ksenia Gardens. We have big buildings. I mean, the majority of our homes on Lake Fenton and Silver Lake, and all, they're commercial structures. I mean, we can't fight them like a residential structure. Anything over 5,000 square feet it's a whole different ballgame. So.
Any other questions for the chief?
I guess I'm not sure if this is with the chief or not, but the installment purchase agreement, I was just curious, like, so we'd be financing part of it and indirectly paying the other part of the service?
And that stuff Tom will have, but before he gets into that, the other part also is the savings. I mean, you guys just approved at the last board meeting the $65 assessment that we pay. It's a pretty good price for fire service and what medical services we do provide as the fire department. That savings alone to purchase this equipment, it's unheard of anywhere else. I mean, it's a great bang for your buck.
Tom, you want to explain the financing?
Right, what's being proposed is, so there's 2 documents in the packet. One is the purchase agreement with Halt Fire to purchase the truck. It's 1.2 million minus 63 and change for prepaying. So we're left with, I think it was 1,166,734.
Correct.
So our thought was we could put a down payment of $500,000, finance the rest, and in talking to the financial guys, they said, well, the financing part needs to be an even dollar amount, even $1,000 amount. So that's why we're gonna actually front $500,734, and we're gonna finance $666,000. And the proposal is to do an installment purchase agreement, which will be a bank RFP negotiated rate with a 5-year payback. So that
What are you projecting for the rate?
Prior to the last Fed hike, I think the 5-year bond rate was running about 2.5.
It was under 3%.
Is that what it's tied to?
They said the rates we should get should mirror the 5-year municipal bond rate.
Okay.
But after the Fed raised it, it went up about 40 or 50 basis points. So we're still hopefully looking at under 3, and hopefully we can strong arm the bank that we deal with. Maybe they'll give us a better deal. Who knows?
We will be going to the.
But the RFP would, if this gets approved tonight, the RFP goes out from Baker Tilly tomorrow, and we will make sure the local banks are included in that.
It's a pretty strong loan, you know, government making the payments on it. Should get a pretty good rate. Flagstar gonna give us any loot?
Okay.
Good.
Happy to be in the list.
Make sure you get. All right. Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Moving on, I need a motion to approve the purchase agreement with Halt Fire, Inc. to purchase a Pierce 107-foot Quint ladder truck for the net cost of $1,166,734 as presented.
So moved.
Support?
Motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Yes, Krug is absent. Kotrick?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Reed?
Yes.
Goffel is absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Lorraine?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Need to move on to a motion to adopt resolution number 2022-51 as presented. Do I have a motion?
Yep.
Support.
All right, motion's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Operations Manager Broker, will you call the roll?
Yes, Reed?
Yes.
Goffel is absent. Tucker?
Yes.
Kessler is absent. Lorraine?
Yes.
Krug is absent. Kotrick?
Yes.
Motion carries. Resolution is adopted.
Congratulations, Chief, you have a new truck.
Thank you
Or
very
at
much.
least in 2 years. Actually, our residents of Fenton Township have a new truck.
Absolutely. And they'll see their savings.
Health, safety, and welfare, right, Chief?
Absolutely.
All right. All right, moving on, the next business order is board comment. Is there anyone on the board who has additional comments or concerns?
I'd like to thank Mr. Broker. The additional detail in the bookmarks on the package were appreciated. I can see somebody made extra effort on this one. We had tabs and highly detailed bookmarks. It actually makes it a lot easier.
The bookmarks, I do that pretty regularly, but the extra tabs on the mosquito stuff.
You always bookmark, but
Yeah.
this is a level of detail that
Yeah, there was a lot here.
There was a
isn't
lot,
there.
that's true. No.
And it makes it
There
a lot
was a
easier,
lot.
it makes it easier to get around, so I'm telling you, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
not being sarcastic, which I've been known to be.
I'm sure he'll accept that compliment.
I know.
All right, if there's no other questions from the board, we'll move on. The next business order is public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. I will now open up the meeting for public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on either agenda or non-agenda items? Hearing none, we'll move on to Zoom. Is there anyone attending this meeting via Zoom that would like to address the board on agenda or non-agenda items? Here, uh-oh, we have a hand.
I was just gonna say thank you. You all did a great job. And I appreciated you listening to people. You did a nice job with that tonight.
Well, thank you, and that's our job. Remember, we work for you. All right.
And I love the new fire truck. I can hardly wait. That's an excellent purchase.
Say that.
All right. Well, if there's nobody else that's attending tonight or joining us via Zoom that would like to address the board, I would say it's now 8:40 p.m. And if there's nothing else, I say good night and the meeting's adjourned.
I think the three that didn't show up for 6 public hearings owe us.
Big time.